All righty, everybody, lights, camera, action. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. For those of you who don't know who we are, my name is Emily Kochansky. I am a simulation specialist with the Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence.
And I'm Samantha Parisi, the other simulation specialist.
The better one.
We're here to talk about some of the new updates that we have been getting to play with and what we expect to come. And we just wanted to let you know that we are the humans in the loop. So, for those of you that maybe aren't as familiar with simulated experiences at St. Leo, even though it looks like it's a video game and it's all in a virtual environment with avatars, we are actually the human beings giving life to those avatars so that every student can have a unique experience based on their replies and responses. And this fall, we will be seeing some changes in our avatars as well as our environments. And we see they have new graphics that are lifelike or eerily near lifelike. We should have improved sound quality as well as an improved experience for the learner. And there is a just a sampling of some of our newer environments. We can have three people in an office environment, so it could be a counseling session or maybe a school session. Conference is what I'm trying to come up with. We have some industrial looking environments now. So we have a grocery store, a pharmacy, and we'll have hospital environments and nursing home environments as well. We have some new avatars as well, transgender, different, a variety of races and ethnicities, as well as we have a new avatar with a hijab. So we can cover all kinds of diversity, inclusion, and equality simulations.
So, as you can see from this example on your screen, those of you who have already worked with us to use simulations in your class, you'll notice that a lot of the avatars you are familiar with are getting complete makeovers. Immersion, the company we license with, has been hard at work updating their avatars and their environments to make them look even more hyper realistic. So that just makes your scenarios and your simulations for your students that much more realistic as well. And in addition to seeing some of these avatars changing appearances, as Sam has already covered, you're going to see a lot of newer avatars as well, and several new environments, including home settings. So we have a kitchen, various living room environments. We're going to be getting a ton of hospital and healthcare environments, including some that looks like patients' rooms, a pharmacy in a grocery store, a nurse's station, a hospital hallway. Let's see, assorted office and hospitality environments, a courtroom. We'll be getting early childhood classrooms. So we're going to have some adorable little toddlers to start working with that Sam and I are very excited about providing the voices for. We are also getting environments that look just like Zoom video calls. So, for those of you who have not previously used simulations in your classes before and may be wondering, can my students benefit from using one in my class? The answer is definitely. Um, I know many of you may have seen in the past that it looks like simulations are more suited for the fields of education, seeing a lot of the child avatars, using them for teacher, parent conferences. But we have settings, and many of these upgrades will make that even more glaringly obvious. We have been using simulations in fields of social work and human services, hospitality, criminal justice, yes, education, business and marketing, entrepreneurship, biology, communications, accounting, and so much more. So if you're concerned about being able to use this in your course, the only limit is your imagination.
And of course, the only technical requirements you're going to need would be a laptop, desktop, tablet, or smartphone. Although the more avatars you have on the screen, the harder it does that you're able to see all the actions, especially for the elementary school children. So we really want our learners to have the best experience. So we encourage them all to use at least a laptop or a desktop computer. A tablet can work just fine too, but it does get harder to see the avatars when you have five and or eight avatars on the screen. You need a webcam and a microphone and a steady internet connection. Very, very important. Strong, steady internet connection.
So simulations can be used mainly to teach your students, to test your students, or just to practice. We have had faculty in the past use them as either in conjunction or as a replacement for a midterm or an exam. There's really no limit to how your students can benefit from these, and they're designed to teach and prepare your students for real world scenarios before they get to the real world. So these simulations are great places for your students to get in there and practice the skills that you are teaching them in class. And if they mess up, it's okay. They're going to learn from those mistakes and hopefully not repeat them when they get into the workforce.
We like to say that scenarios are using a simulation as like a flight simulator for life. So beyond just using their skills that you're teaching in the classroom, they can help with leadership development. And as I said, diversity, inclusion, and equity, equality. De-escalating conflict is a huge reason why the Defense Department and many corporations use this software in their training. Of course, Health and Human Services and leadership. You can, we encourage everyone to think outside of the box, but if you're feeling a little stuck, by all means, contact us. We have a scenario bank of hundreds of different scenarios. And if we don't have something that will exactly suit your needs, we can certainly create a new one. And virtual experience. So with social distancing needs and mask wearing, and as we saw last year, schools being closed, different environments being closed for interns and field placement opportunities, we give you a chance to still give your students that possibility without having to actually be on ground.
So there has been a plethora of research done into the effectiveness of simulations from multiple universities that use these. We like to believe that it leads. We lead with curiosity to create those light bulb moments. We help learners find dynamic solutions to complex problems by encouraging transparency, creativity, and iteration. We want to we use Samantha and I use the avatars and our talents to kickstart thought-provoking conversations and open dialogue with diverse perspectives of our partners and peers. All of the interactions that students do with avatars, even though it looks like it's a game or to some, and this is even how some of these students and faculty view it, they think it's a pre-recorded situation. It's not. It's all happening in real time. That's Samantha and I on the other end, and they don't realize that in the beginning, that this is a real person who can see them and is responding to them. It's all improvisation.
So according to recent research that's been done, the results show that 3 hours of simulation training in a group setting with virtual characters can equal as much as 3 weeks of training with real students. This has also been corroborated by research done out of the University of Linköping, I believe, out of Sweden. And I might be butchering that, and I feel terrible about it. But the point is that just 3 hours of simulation time can equal 3 weeks because instead of having the ups and downs of how the day goes or waiting for a situation that never evolves, we can actually give your students a very targeted experience.
So scheduling a simulation, or if you would just like to even learn a little bit more, or even see a private demonstration of some of the avatars, it's very easy. I actually posted a link in the chat to our website, which you'll see right here as well. The Simulated Experiences at St. Leo website, where you'll be able to find that list of scenarios that Samantha and I have created. You'll be able to see pictures and helpful videos of all the different kinds of avatars and environments. And it's where you'll also go to schedule a preliminary simulation, which it will link you out to a Microsoft form that you'll complete. Very quick, easy, and it kind of lets Samantha and I know a little bit about what you're looking for in a scenario and a simulation ahead of time. And then we'll be more than happy to follow up with you to learn more about that and see if we can get you on our schedule and make this happen for you, which we totally can.
And of course, that 1 month ahead is really for your benefit and our benefit. We want to give you the best possible experience for you and your students. And we want to make sure that what we are delivering is exactly what you want. So that 1 month ahead of time not only gets you on the schedule, but allows us time to go back and forth and tweak those little things, run a couple of practice sessions if needed to make sure you're getting exactly what you need. So, any questions?
Please do not be shy.
I don't have a question, but I will say that I've worked with Emily on different occasions, and it's great. The kids really enjoyed it and got a lot out of it, and they got to we discussed it afterwards. We looked at it again because it's recorded and kind of went over it and did pros and cons of how they answered and how they could have done better and what they did good, and so it really was a lot of good feedback, and I think it really it's really something that if you have a chance to do it because Emily does a great job. Um,
Well, Dr. Mims, you'll actually be very happy to know that we are working with Immersion right now to create a custom environment bundle with avatars that will now allow us to incorporate every single one of your scenarios into one space so we can jump in and out of them just like that. And we can get settings and avatars that look a little more particular to what you had imagined in your scenarios. I don't know if you saw in one of those previous slides, there was like a convenience store setting. So now, sorry, quick background for all of you. Dr. Mims has created multiple scenarios that she uses with her students where they have to interview either suspects or potential criminals or victims of a crime.
Or witnesses.
And yes, or witnesses.
witnesses.
Thank you. I couldn't think of that word. I'm terrible. And one of those settings was a convenience store that has been robbed, and they have to interview the employee. So now we can actually do that with the updated features.
Oh, great, good.
So we can't wait to show it to you once it's all been
I
finalized and
know.
set up.
Yeah, great.
So in addition to all of the improvements that were made in front of the camera that you guys are all going to see as far as being realistic backgrounds and more realistic features on the avatars, the on our end it's a lot easier too. They're using the motion capture camera more to mimic our expressions, our movements, and that makes it a lot easier and faster for us to be reactive. They've also tweaked the voice morphing software, so you get a much more realistic transition from our female voices into male voices or into little kid voices without us having to do as much vocal acting. Victoria, what can we help with?
Okay, sorry, I joined a bit late. So I wanted to know, do we have to create our own sort of dialogue for simulations?
Sam, before I speak, did you want to field this? I don't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead. You got
Okay.
it.
Absolutely not. You can collaborate with Sam and I. We can help you create your scenario, and a scenario is not a long, overly detailed, fleshed out script. Because these interactions are improv to be more realistic, we ask for maybe a couple of specifics, like if there is a particular way you want to see an avatar respond to your student. We definitely want to be aware of that. May I ask what courses you teach?
I'm in social work, so I teach research this semester. Research, sometimes trauma course, and macro practice, organizational behavior and leadership.
Excellent. So say, for instance, the scenario is you're having one of your student learners have a conversation with a patient, and you would let us know what the objectives you want to see your student meet are. And we'll be happy to send you an example of the scenario design template if you'd like to see it in better detail. So there would be an example of, okay, if your student is meeting this objective, how would you like Samantha or I to respond to that, to kind of let them know they're on the right track? If they're not meeting it, what would you like us to say or do to kind of give them that inkling that, oh, I'm totally way off base here? So
Mhm.
nothing extremely detailed, nothing that's going to take you ages to get into, just a couple of two specific words or gestures, something for us to go by to aid in our performance.
Yeah, I'm thinking actually, as opposed to clinical work, students hate research methods. I'm just thinking how cool it would be to probably have them view a current event, a social problem, and have a discussion about how they do some research to further understand maybe a, you know,
Yeah. Oh, that
particular.
sounds like a blast.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna think.
And of course, the best part about simulations is that in the middle of class, in the middle of life, you can't really say stop or pause and go back and redo, but we can do that in simulations. Even we can handle group settings if you are in the classroom and you want to use simulations within a smart classroom, or we can do one-on-one sessions with your students. They can do it. Everything's done through Zoom, so they can attend virtually. We can set up a waiting room if you want your students to have individual times that they practice, or they can practice with the entire group there and get that immediate feedback, not only from you as the instructor, but also from their peers.
And just to add to that, a couple of things you do want to consider when you are setting up a simulation for your course is, how long is my class? How many students do I have that I need to get through a simulation? Because that can affect how long each student gets to participate. It could affect how many days you need to schedule these for, but there are so many options to execute a simulation in your course, whether or not you want to have if say you have a larger class and you know there's no way you can get through all 25 of your students in one go. Perhaps you just pick a couple of volunteers and the rest watch and give feedback. Maybe you set this up over the course of several days and you have a certain number go each day. And we're willing to work with you to help fit it in best to your course, to ensure your satisfaction, to ensure that your students are getting the equal opportunity to participate.
Great. Thank
Emily.
you very much.
You're very welcome.
And Victoria, this is Deborah. So Emily, thank you. And Samantha, I can say that they're an excellent team, the simulation team. They will work with you. I use them with my groups class in social work, and some of the students were hesitant initially because they didn't know what simulation was about. They thought it was cartoons. Why am I doing this? But when we look at the objective of what we're trying to teach and how they could utilize these skill sets in the real world or before they get to their internship, you have to break some things down first to I think, engage them and get them to participate. And it may take, some pre-work, some pre-leg work on our behalf, but the instructor can still position themselves in the process to say, okay, I may say, I want Rod and Jeremy to be the volunteers. And that way you can move things forward. Some will volunteer and say, I'll do it. Now that I have an understanding, they'll do it. Some may hesitate, and that's okay because you want to start with where they are. But they will help you, the simulation team, they will help you break things down to where you will teach the class and convey a skill accordingly.
And Deborah,
Hey,
I'm happy to announce that taking into consideration some of the scenarios we've done for you in the past, we now have a pregnant avatars for you to use.
Thank you so much. I guess we have to put a little bit backdrop there. I used it in working with like methods of social work practice 1, where there was an individual, a woman who was pregnant and in crises, and we wanted to know how the students would engage them and apply the GEM model, the generalist intervention model. How would you engage them, assess them, and follow up? And so we had a young lady there. We had to say she was in her first trimester because we couldn't see that she was pregnant, but she was pregnant and in crises, and the students did well. And for the scholars, I was also able to publish in a peer-reviewed journal article talking about the use of and collaboration with simulation with other disciplines. So thank you for the opportunity. Go simulation team.
And if I recall, Samantha gave a stirring Oscar-worthy performance, but that one that brought tears to your students' eyes.
It
So.
did. Oh, and I think that you all, professors need to be prepared for that as well. The emotional responses of, like they said, with what Sam had, the person was in crisis. So the students were like, crying too, but it's good that they cry here before they get in front of the client. Not that they're not going to cry ever again in front of a client, but we had to process, we had to process those emotions and whatnot, because she would say, oh, my mother kicked me out of the house. And they were like, how could her mother kick her out of the house? Okay, we're just role playing here. Okay, we don't know her mother. So let's talk about your feelings. So thank you, Samantha. Keep up the good work.
And drawing off what Deborah mentioned is sometimes students are a little apprehensive and they don't understand what exactly happens during a simulation. So Emily and I have been working on a video entitled "What to Expect During a Simulated Experience," and that will be up on our website within the next week or so.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I think too, we're talking about how I used it before in interviewing. I was just thinking about a pre and a post to see what they've learned. You could do something like in the beginning, before they've learned anything, how would they do it? And then you have your class and you teach, and then later on, weeks later, do a post and see and be able to tell if there's a difference in what they've learned and what they've garnered from using the avatars, as well as what they've discussed in class and how you can do better, and then do it, and then be able to tell if there's a pre and a post as to how they've improved in my case, in interviewing scenarios or in whatever. So, or in their
I think the internet got the best of Dr. Mims.
Oh no. Well, any other questions?
Oh.
There we go.
She had a great idea though.
She did. And just a little bit in that vein, I know it's not quite what she was talking about. Her idea is much better. We do like to send out surveys following your interactions, just so we can kind of gauge how your students felt about it, and also how you felt about it as well, because as we said, our primary goal is your satisfaction and an effective learning experience for your students. And if there was something we did that didn't quite meet that, we want to know, because we want to know how to be better.
And automatically within our new software update, we have 2 avatar facilitators, one male, one female, that can come on the screen and ask our basic questions of the students. How do you feel you did? What would you like to change? What do you think you did well? Or we can ask them very specific self-reflection questions depending on what your needs are.
Emily and Samantha, for those who may have never seen a simulation, could you say what that would look like for an on-ground class, what it might look like for an online class, where are students positioned, how long is a simulation, how many minutes does a student need to be engaged in one, do all the students in a class need to engage? Any of those questions might be helpful for someone who's never seen one.
Right, absolutely. And thank you, Candace. Sam, would you like to take some of this?
I will
Then
go
I'll
ahead and take some of
chime in
that.
after. It's a big question, a lot of answers.
A lot to unpack there. Okay, so on ground classes, you would need to be in a smart classroom with a smart board and capability to get to Zoom, and it will be projected on the screen whatever the environment and avatars are that you needed. Now, we like to practice, especially with the classrooms beforehand, because we need an idea of what area the camera is showing and how close the students need to be in order for us as the humans in the loop, so that we can actually see their expressions and hear them clearly during the simulation. For if you're teaching an asynchronous class, your students might have to plan to come in on maybe one of 2 or 3 different days, and we can plan the sessions and give them, all right, here are the slots that you have open for these times and these dates, and have them sign in. And you as the instructor wouldn't necessarily need to be there during the simulation. We can tape the simulation, include those reflection questions, and then send you the recording afterwards. Another idea for an asynchronous class is to tape ideal situations, scenarios with the avatars, and then your class can access them as videos afterwards. Take it away, Emily.
So as we mentioned, because this is all done completely through Zoom, students can participate from anywhere, their own homes, from the classroom, anywhere, as long as they can connect to the internet and have a good, steady connection. I know we've had several students log on from their cell phones, which if it works in a pinch, we would prefer them, honestly, to be on a laptop or a tablet, something with a bigger screen, to make sure they're getting a better viewing experience. But if it works, it works. We don't discriminate. As for do all students need to participate? Well, that really depends on you, the faculty member, and how you can set up the workload in your course, especially for asynchronous courses where we know it's not always possible for every single student to meet at the same exact time. We know we have students coming from different time zones. It can be challenging. So if there is a way to schedule certain students, that could all be there around the same time and give them the equal opportunity to participate, we do record all of our simulations and send the recording to you afterwards, usually within the following day. And this is something that you can review at your own time to say, because we do love it when you, the faculty member, are present for these simulations to assist your students with getting through the process, like helping keep time and making sure they all have a chance to participate. But it's a way for you to look back on something that you may have missed in the moment, so you can grade them accordingly. It's also something for you to share with your students, so you can show them, hey, you see you did this right here. I bet you didn't realize you were doing that or had said that in the moment, because it's true. Students all the time don't realize they've said or done something until they see it again. But because we record those, it could be possible that students who could not be in attendance could watch the recording of their peers and maybe provide them with feedback at a later time in lieu of another assignment. So there are many options, as we said before, for including all, if not for including most, if not all, of your students in this experience. And as Samantha just said a moment ago, we're not above pre-recording simulations as well that they could just watch on their own time and maybe provide written feedback for as part of an assignment.
May I share something?
Of course.
Something that has worked nicely for us is, because you do record those sessions, I have asked my students to I have the students present in teams, so we might get through 2 small teams in a given day, for example, and the students are required to view the video after post the class, and they submit to me a reflection. I've got a number of questions that I ask, and something like what you were saying as well, what went well, what might I have done differently, that type of a thing. But I also found it very useful to ask the students in the class who are there present, because this is for on-ground class. This way I keep the rest of the class engaged by asking them to provide some peer feedback to their colleagues in situ. So they are then needing to pay good attention to what their colleagues are seeing. And then they post that, their peer critique, if you will, they will post that in discussion board. And then the team who presented is required to rewatch the video of themselves, consider what their colleagues had to say, and then reflect accordingly. So that it's not that it's anything new or different, but it has worked very well for us.
Excellent. Thank you, Joanne, for sharing that.
Okay.
Any further questions? Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
There's no way we could have answered every question. You've got some niggling questions in your mind.
If anybody is interested in scheduling one, just reach out to Emily and Samantha, or you can just reach out to simulation@stleo.edu, which is our general email address. Both of them will get that email. And usually what we do is we tell people just to go in, check out the scenarios that we show up there, and then reach out to them and let them know, you know what, I'm thinking about an idea for this class, and go ahead and set up a meeting with them and go ahead and start having that conversation around that. We have a template that we have set up that allows you to think through, like, what are the 1 or 2 outcomes that you want your students to get from this scenario, from this simulation. And so it starts from there. And then just like she said, there's no script with it, but there's usually some sort of background or backstory that goes with it. And so you work with them to create that part of it as well. But they have so many different scenarios. A lot of times you may just have to take one that they currently have and just slightly tweak it to fit maybe a different outcome that you want for your class. And so that's absolutely helpful as well. And then they can talk to you about the ideas for different environments or different avatars. Right now, we're in the process of updating our website. And so on the environments page, you can see a lot of our new environments that are up there. And so definitely check those out, because usually 1 or 2 connect with what your experience you want your students to have. And so definitely check that out as well. But hopefully once you go through the process, one of the things that they also do is once you get your scenario set, then set up a time with them just to kind of go through it, because then they really want to make sure they're given the best possible experience for you and for your students. And so if you go through it with them, then y'all can give feedback back and forth to make sure when they actually jump in live with the students, they are following kind of the storyline or however you want to see it played out in the class as well. So, but you also see on the template as well, I think they mentioned that like hits and misses, if they did really well, then they hit it. If they missed it, then maybe something else happens, or this certain type of reaction that the avatar is. And so you can talk with them about what those pieces look like as well. But definitely reach out to them. If you're interested, go ahead and get on the schedule. So, we're starting to get instructors booking up, and they pretty much from 8 until about 8 at night is really what our time frame is for being able to book. So obviously if you're on ground class, depending on when your class is, just kind of reach out to them and find out. And one of the other ideas that there have been a few instructors that have talked about this, and I think it was briefly mentioned, where you can set up several of these. So you can even say, in week 4, I'm going to do one. And then in week 8 or week 12, depending on if you're an 8-week or 16-week course, to build on it. Because there are several instructors that have done this where their students used it once in the beginning of the semester, and they actually used it in the middle or towards the end of the semester as well. And you can see the comfort level for the students and knowing what to expect by the time they come in the second or third time in the semester. And then you can also up the ante on the scenario as well, and kind of what you're going to put, what kind of experience you want to give them as well. So.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that. We can make these simulations as challenging as you want. The avatars can be the most docile people, maybe if this is their first ever scenario that they're experiencing, and maybe as the class progresses, they start getting more difficult. So, I mean, we're only as good as the instruction that you give us. If you want us to be sweet, we will. If you want us to be absolute nightmares, we can do that too.
In answer to your question, Victoria, what's the time frame? We usually ask for a month advance notice. So when you contact us that first time with kind of an outline, just go ahead and we'll get you on the schedule for the date of your simulation. And then we'll spend the rest of that time leading up to it to develop it fully and go ahead and practice it, run it, make sure that it's exactly what you need.
And also, oh, I'm sorry, please go ahead.
No, I was just thanking you.
Oh, well, you were welcome. I was going to say, going back to what Greg was saying about the scenarios that you'll be able to find on our website, all of those that Samantha and I have written are just very generic scenarios, and they're there for you to either get inspired from or to completely customize to suit your own needs. If you see one that maybe is very close to something you'd like to try in your class, but it's not quite there, please feel free to change it in any way you see fit. That's what it's there for. Or if you would like to completely just create something new, Samantha and I are more than happy to collaborate with you to do so. Or if you already have one in your mind that you've got this whole thing ready, send it our way. We'll be happy to see it.
May I ask you, I'm looking at the page. So everything that's listed, I'm looking under business and marketing. And I'm thinking in my macro course, I want students to create a change. I'm just thinking pitching and selling a product to a company. Do you already have a scenario for that? I would love to see it and to see what strategy. I would like to use that to teach them strategies to, to get people to be on your
We have classes that use us as their own Shark Tank, and we have a boardroom with we can now have 3 or 4 sharks in the boardroom, and the students pitch their idea for a product or for a business that they'd like to open, and the sharks put them through their paces and make sure they have all their information before letting them know whether it's a yay or a nay.
And the avatars can respond solely to how your students are presenting. Like maybe if your students are just having a very rough go of it, the avatars could be honest, well, I don't really see this product working for us. Or you could give each of those avatars a very specific personality. So you could have one that just loves everything that comes their way, but then you could have another one that your students are going to have to work really hard to impress. So that's where that kind of upping the ante comes into it as well.
Yeah.
There's so many ways you can
see that working, right? Cindy? You can see that working. Awesome.
Actually, that's fantastic what Victoria is alluding to. We actually had that at Shark Tank where the students, they would come because we were totally online via web conferencing. We've been doing web conferencing for 10 years. And so the first time they would meet is when they would come in on summer. And one of the things they had to do, Victoria, I think it might have been just 4 hours. They would have to come up with a product to sell that had to meet a need of the society. Right. Let me just tell you something, what they created. And then we were able to hire not hire, that we didn't pay. I don't know why I said hire, maybe because Shark Tank. But invited key stakeholders in the community, CEOs, all of them. And we had actually Judge Tepper as one of the sharks. Oh, and they were serious. It was something else, but only 4 hours. They were nervous, but in that amount of time, they even printed out shirts of their company. I don't even know how they did all
They
that.
created
So they would
companies,
stay
and
up-
I mean, it was amazing from.
Yeah, they would stay up all night doing it. And so what I'm thinking with this, with the simulation,
Mhm.
and I don't know if this is, if this is continuing, that would be their kind of first shot. If they can have this earlier in the course, it was a leadership course,
Mhm.
and I know they've adjusted it. But just for an example, that can be a true time, and then to have it where if you really do want people have the opportunity to meet face to face some stakeholders, they would be better tuned up in order to present, you know?
Absolutely. 'Cause that's a perfect example of using the simulations for their intended purpose,
Yeah.
practicing for the real world event. So I think that's a fabulous idea.
We help the students develop their confidence by giving them a safe space in order to do those presentations, put them in situations so that they have the experience they need, or give them a safe space for those difficult conversations. There are times when, especially lately, that finding the right diplomatic way to say certain things can be difficult. And we give them the space to do that because they can't insult us. And you can always say, stop. Let's restart that, or let's rethink that, and then back it up. We can stop time, slow it down, speed it up, whatever it is you need to give your students the best experience possible. Any other questions? No?
You've been a fabulous audience, and we want to thank you all again so much for coming and for your attention and all your wonderful questions.
And just be sure to check out the website, simulation.stleos.edu, or if you have some questions that you need answered, reach out to us at simulation@stleo.edu. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I think that's it.
That's all, folks.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we needed.
Thank you again, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.